KLTV soundtrack, KLTV soundtrack.
Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday meeting of the BOCC. You'll notice it's a little odd today because all you have is me. So it's going to be a different type of meeting today. I have two colleagues that are fighting illness and physical stuff, and they won't be in today. So we're going to go through the same routine. There just is not going to be any decisions. We'll cover what's going to be covered. The public hearing, I think Commissioner Rader will come on at 9:30, and we're going to move that to the 23rd for those items. And any of the agenda items and motion items that we have on today will move to next Tuesday. But we're going to have discussion on everything, and we'll just proceed as normal. We have a special guest with us today that's going to lead us in our invocation before we start the meeting. And one of the reasons we do that is you look back, let me read you a quote. This is from a fellow by the name of Benjamin Rush, and he was very prominent in the making of our Constitution way, way, way back. And they understood even back then how important Providence was in the founding of our country. And he said, "I do not believe that the Constitution was the offspring of inspiration, but I am satisfied that it is as much the work of divine providence as any of the miracles recorded in the Old and New Testament." It's a belief that I have that our Constitution really comes, a lot of it comes straight from teachings from the Bible. And we're about the only nation in the world that is formed that way. And it's what most constitutions, I think the average life is 17 years. Ours is well over 200 at this point in time. And there's a reason for that. So today we have a special guest with us, Evelyn Firth, that is going to lead us in invocation. She has a birthday coming up, don't you, on the 26th?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning. I guess you know, my name is Evelyn Firth, and I've got a birthday coming up. I'll be 102 the day after Christmas. So they've asked me to come this morning. I want to pray for the commissioners so that they have a good meeting today. And I'll pray for the staff that they meet their goals today. And please pray for the people that are starving all over the world. It means a lot to them if they could get some food and medical. And please pray for peace. Maybe we can soften Putin's heart a little bit. Okay, I have the prayers. I found this little prayer that I think I like it, and I hope you will. For the family blessing, Lord of all, bless our families, be they formed by blood or by circumstance, make them holy. May we find you in our relationships, in our marriages, in our families, in our households, and in our communities, and our global humanity. May we look across all that divides us and see family, and embrace as family does, and love as families ought to. And where there's 2 or 3 gather in his name, there you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Special having you today. You come and join us anytime.
Thank you.
If you want to join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have Board of Health today, and that's going as normal, because we will have a quorum for Board of Health, and Board of Health will be at 10 o'clock. I'll just read down through what we had on consent agenda. Once again, there'll be no decisions made. Items 1 through 5 on consent agenda is just an agreement to conduct Dyking District elections with our elections department, and that includes Dyking District 1, 2, 3, 15, and Silver Lake Flood Control District. Number 6, our Noxious Weeds Department has a grant from the Washington State Department of Agriculture in the amount of $5,000 that they've been awarded. They use that for control work on, to work with private landowners. If they see stuff on a private landowner and they don't have full ability to help eradicate some of that, we use these funds to help with that. We have a contract completion letter with active construction for the Eric Creek Fish Passage project is finished. That came in real close to bid. I think we were 15,000 over, and most of that overage really came with timing delays we had to struggle with some of the utility work people getting in and moving some of their lines. We have an addendum and a statement of work with BGSF to provide ongoing support for PeopleSoft Financial and HCM applications. The county uses a software called PeopleSoft. It does a lot of functions within our county. This is and we've been looking for a group for a while that can give us some backup help on this. So I think we have one person in IT that's pretty well schooled on it. We're teaching another, but this is a group that we can reach out to when we have issues on PeopleSoft. As I said, it covers a lot of the activities we do in the county, so it's important that we have some help standing behind us. Number 9, there was an old program, a community development block grant rehab program that the county, to my understanding, used to lend some money to help fix houses or fix up a house. The person we did this for, and I don't even know when it was, is paying that grant off. So the reconveyance is we're just releasing our interest in it. 2 resolutions. We're just acknowledging that they have their budgets done. One is with special district levy and special purpose district budgets. Cowlitz County Emergency Medical Service District Number 1 budget and tax levy. Correspondence. This last week was from FERC for a drilling program. We reappointed Heather Ogden to the Fair Board. This will 4-year term will expire at the end of October 2029. We got a letter from William Fashing, Executive Director, Cowlitz from Council of Governments regarding the 2026 membership dues. And a letter from Scott Turner, Operations Section Manager, Office, Columbia River Department of Ecology regarding the Spanish Castle Master Planned Resort construction. Wow, that's a mouthful. And you remember last week we were gone with the holidays and stuff a while, and you saw our vouchers where I think we're over 11 million. It had piled up pretty high. Well, this week we're back on a more of a normal schedule. It's $1,778,638.87. We had motion items, which will move, all this stuff is going to move to next Tuesday. Amendment number 2 to professional service agreement with BHC Consultants. They do work for us when we're working on headquarters landfill. We're replacing the flare on the Tenant Way landfill. The flare at the Tenant Way landfill has been there since, I think Sean said, since 1992, I think. And it's, the amount of gas it's burning has decreased over time, and it's way over, it's too big for what's produced anymore, and it flames out because it can't keep going. And so we're out there maintaining it and doing stuff. Plus, it's over 30 years old, and there's some he described fiberglass construction on it, that stuff is starting to wear out. So we're replacing that with a smaller flare. I guess that's kind of a good news things. The gas is decreasing out there, so it's doing what it's supposed to do. And what else do we have? A bid award to Western United Civil Group LLC for the Allender Bridge Road Bridge Replacement Project. We've been talking about that for quite a bit. Allender Bridge is out in the Riderwood area. It's an old bridge that's has weight limits and restrictions on it now because it can't handle the weight, and this is a bridge that's is fully funded by other than the county up to $2 million. So the bid we had 13 bidders on this, and the bid came in at $1,647,545. Our estimate when we first started this was 2.1 million. So it's under that. We actually had 3 bidders that were actually pretty close to this $1.6 million mark. So we feel pretty good with that. And then a bid award to AET, Advanced Electrical Technologies, for as-needed electrical services at the headquarters landfill. They're the ones that have been doing it. They've done it for a few years, and then every so often, I think I'm speaking for Sean again, but we like to look at a 3-4 year term where we put it out for open bid again, and that's what this was. And the same group came in with the best bid on it. And then we had a lot of, let me ask, does anybody have anything on here you want to chat about? I'm more than happy to try and explain any of this stuff here if we can.
Thank you, Commissioner Dahl. First thing, could you share a little bit with us? What is the Spanish Castle Master Planned Resort Construction?
Yeah. I don't know. Who put that on, do you know? Well, that's correspondence.
Yes, correspondence 12D.
Can we pull it up at all? We're going to try and pull that up because I don't know right off the top of my head.
Okay, so that's a mystery to us, Spanish Castle. And then secondly is under item number 8, $120,000 for 480 hours. That's $250 an hour. I hope that is rubber on the road, that the contract is very clear and doesn't include travel time and all kinds of other things. I would expect to have production at exactly 200 or per hour for $250 an hour.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a technology side. I know Travis worked with, I don't know how many companies trying to find a company that would fit and fill our technology needs for this software. I don't know that there'll be any travel out here. I just think it's for their expertise. I think it's for, if we need them to get in the system and fix something, or we need to have some direction.
Well, when I've managed some of these technology things, that means that the person that shows up knows exactly what they're doing and are producing while they're there. Training time, getting familiar time is not at $250 an hour.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's why you would do these contracts. You don't want to have to, we're in the process of training an individual so we'll have on staff, but these people already know the product, and it's when you need that assistance.
Correct.
There should be,
But
correct.
the manager of this contract has that expectation up front and clearly represents it for our $250 an hour.
Agreed.
Okay. So Spanish Castle.
We're gonna find that letter. We pull that letter up and I'll have them take a look at it.
Okay.
Oh, you
very
got it
good.
right there? It comes from the Department of Ecology.
Chairman Dahl,
Master Plan and Resort Project, Columbia River Consultate. I'll just read it to you and you can. The purpose of the letter is to request your input regarding specific aspects of the Spanish Castle Master Plan Resort Project. It actually was addressed to Commissioner Rader, so it might be something that.
Chairman Dahl, can you hear me? Hello?
Are you on?
Yeah. Can you hear
Can
me?
you speak to this one a little bit?
Yeah, it's with regards to a river flow and water intake on the Columbia. They're looking at changing the RCWs. They sent me a packet that I'm in the process of going through to get more information on. And what they would like is they would just like input from Cowlitz County as to whether or not we agree with the change of the RCWs or not. That's the limited information that I've got at this point. So it's just, if you read through it, it talks about a water flow and an intake. And they're looking at changing the RCWs per those two things. As I go through the packet and research it and get a little bit more information, I'll have more information to give out.
Very good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anything else on any of the agenda items? Kathy, we don't really have we can start talking about that, or why don't we just have, do I need to wait till 9:30 to do that, or can we just move that now? Okay. Kathy, why don't we start going over the stuff there, and at 9:30 we'll do the formal thing of moving it to the 23rd.
Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. We have had scheduled for today discussion about several items all related to culminating to the adoption of a biennial budget for 2026 and 2027. The first item that was on there was a resolution to adopt the 6-year transportation improvement program for 2026 through 2031. You want me to hold for a minute? Okay. So this item was previously workshopped. And at the hearing, we would have discussed the 6-year transportation program and had handouts for that. But that was previously workshopped in the month of October with the board.
Okay.
And Susan, our engineer, county engineer, would be here to present that. The next item was would be a resolution adopting the annual construction program and fixed asset purchases for just the year 2026. That as well was workshopped with the board previously in October and covered purchases of things such as a CAT 836 compactor, a used haul truck, 1 steel drum roller, a 3/4 ton pickup, 1 ton flatbed truck, and 1 water truck was discussed at that workshop. And then we also discussed at a previous workshop the motor pool vehicles as well. And for 2026, there were 2 vehicles planned, and for 2027, there were 8 vehicles planned. Then we also have a resolution that we'll be presenting for adoption of the 5-year capital plan. This is a capital plan involving facilities, primarily all of our facilities is. And so that, in that plan, it's 5-year, it's for 2026 through 2030. And one of the major projects on that plan is our Hall of Justice program, which we began in 2025, but we still have approximately over 4.5 million to be expended in the year of 2026 for that project. So there's a handout, there would be a handout for that. The next resolution would be adopting amended and revised fees for services on our equipment rental and revolving rates. And that also was workshopped in a previous budget workshop with the commissioners. And then as well, we have the only other fee increases would be a resolution adopting a fee schedule for our water and sewer customers of the county. And then we have one resolution that's for the dissolution of the CMH Substance Abuse Administration Fund, which is Fund 14101. We want to transfer all assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenses to the Human Resources Fund 14001. And this is to clean up and to be more efficient and just to have one fund that's managing all the grants and contracts that we have. And then the final thing is a resolution to adopt the 2026 and 2027 biennial budget, which has been workshopped through September all the way through the month of November, and includes the levies that we've adopted last week, actually. So for the general fund and the road fund. So that's kind of a summary of what we'll be presenting related to the budget.
Okay. Well,
This is odd because
yeah, but I have some comments
okay.
on the budget that I was going to bring up, and I realized at 9:30 we're going to move this to the 23rd, and I know you've had some summary, but I wanted to going back to if I can, here it is. A document you gave us that kind of put us a summary. And I just want to verify some things on here for 20, because the way I would view that is we're not looking at a balanced budget is the way I would view that. And the reason I say that is because the receipts, the tax receipts and stuff we're taking in are going to be less than the expenses that we're showing. And the way we're making that up is because we've developed some fund balance, some cushion over the years, and we're dipping into that cushion to make that work.
Correct.
You have those cushions for a reason, and I think it's a good thing. Our policy says 1 month's worth of cushion, which is about $6.2 million.
Correct.
The state auditors would like to see you have 2, maybe 3. I think personally, I don't want to hoard a lot of taxpayer money, but I think 2 or 3 months is prudent.
Prudent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And figures I'm reading in 2026, we're going to start with the beginning fund balance I see of 18.2.
Yeah, right now I'm projecting it to be a little bit higher than that, about a little over 19 million right now.
Okay, so we're going to be right around 18 to 19
Right.
million dollars, which is about roughly 3 months of cushion. If we don't, we've made a couple changes, but at the end of 2026, that 18 or 19 is going to be right around 6.2.
Yes, I have right now, the latest that I'm estimating is 6.3.
Yeah.
Yep, very
So
similar
we're going to go from 3 months cushion down to one
to one.
in a heartbeat because we're running. This is my view. I just realized you got one person up here. We're running a deficit budget. If that carries over into 2000, because it's a two-year cycle, that carries over. That translates into our 2027, we're expecting about 62 million roughly in receipts from taxes, sale tax and stuff like that.
For the general fund, yes.
Yeah, and we're showing expenditures a little over 80 million.
Yes,
So then we're gonna take that 6.2 and we're gonna have to make that difference. We're actually gonna be negative, looking at these figures, about 8.2.
correct.
We can't go negative.
We can't go negative. So it would mean for 2027, you would either have to raise additional revenues or combination cut expenses
Yeah,
or a combination of those two things.
so,
Correct.
yeah. So what I've just explained is fairly accurate view of what we're seeing.
Yes,
Okay. We can't operate, we have to operate prudently. We have to operate within our means. And we can't expect, I would tell you, we can't expect commerce in the state under the current people that are ruling Olympia. They have zero, they have no idea of what economic principles are. It's like a foreign language to them. They don't understand it. You truly have to work extremely hard to be that uninformed. Their approach to everything is to, if they have a deficit, we'll just take more from the people. Let me try and explain it. Governments don't drive economies. They can drive them into the ground, but they don't drive healthy economies. Our state thinks our government is the central point of our economy. It's not. It's these people out here that spend. And the more you take out of their pockets, which they do on a yearly basis, they have taxes that are escalating. The more they take out, the less it goes back into the economy because they use it for some battery powered ferry, for crying out loud, that they think is gonna work coming over into Bremerton. And just these nonsense things. You can't keep taking productive money, putting it into unproductive projects and expect your economy to return. So I don't see a great future until there's some change up there. The fixes are easy. I can tell you, I could fix them in a heartbeat. I don't have the authority to fix them, but the fixes are easy. They do things based on political agenda, not economic reality. So I don't see us getting bailed out by super growth in our state at this point in time. So the only other option is we need to bring our government down to where it matches what we bring in. I don't see any other option. I'm not gonna piggyback on the state and suggest we need to take more money from our citizens in our county. I think that's just, it makes zero sense. I can recite you over history when you give money back as to the improvements you'll see and the positive things that it does. I'm not going to be part of the problem and take it from these people. So we have to shrink. You and I have been talking about this for 2 years. This wasn't hard to see. I mean,
Yep.
you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see the way they were handling the economy in Olympia and what was coming. It was pretty clear. We've been talking about it for 2 years and saying we need to sharpen our pencils. And I've said a couple times, I'd much sooner that you departments, speaking the county as a whole, sharpen your pencils and not leave it up to me or leave it up to us. But it's to the point where I can't financially say it's okay to take our county from 3 months worth of reserves where the state auditors really like to see you down to 1 month, which is policy. I mean, that's a huge drop, and to think that they're not gonna notice that and say something to us about it. You know, we have 2 counties, we have 39 counties in the state of Washington. We have 2 of them that I hear from pretty good sources that are kind of on the brink. I have no intention of Cowlitz being the third. So we're gonna have to do some cuts, and I'll just read you down some things that my thoughts are, and we can incorporate them in the future meetings. I know there's no decisions today, and I'll give you this afterwards, and I'll make sure my colleagues have this. But my suggestion in 2026, I'm just talking about 2026 to give us some cushion, is reductions in these would be reductions to the different departments. This really falls under Superior Court, but mainly it's drug court, 20% reduction. In my view, my colleagues, I'll up front with you, look at this different, but in my view, we voted on that whole thing. The voters, 58% said we don't want to pay that fee. So I'm saying 20% reduction through Superior Court, 20% juvenile. OPD, public defense is 5%. Basically, that delays the new standards. Clerk, 8%. Prosecuting attorney, 8%. Sheriff, 10. Auditor, 8. IT, 5. Treasurer, 8. Assessor, 8. District Court, 8. Expo Center, any of the funds that we supply to them from the general fund, gone. That's I like Expo Center, but that's a business entity. It should be able to stand on its own, and I don't see any reason why it can't. So I don't think we need to subsidize that from the general fund anymore. So whatever that is, gone. The facility 5-year plan that Public Works puts together, we transfer $1 million into that on a yearly basis. There'd be no transfer in 2026. And I would ask them to then come back and redo their schedule. So I would, for the next time we get together, I'd like you to kind of put those in play and see what that means. I think what it should give us, it should bump that 6 up to about 10 in my rough calculations, but you'll be able to tell me. And then,
Okay, I can put the numbers together
yeah, and see where
based upon those percentages.
that's still 27. Of course, then those things would carry over into 27, and I don't know how that would bleed down through, but I would just ask you to kind of throw those in there and we'll have a discussion on it. Like I say, and I hate to keep repeating this, but you're getting one man's opinion here, okay? I'm running long here, so let's take care of the legal stuff. And I know we have Commissioner Rader, we can make a motion to move this to the 23rd, and we'll take care of that, and then we'll let him go and get back to doing what he needs to do to get better. Commissioner Rader, do you mind making that motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to move the public meeting to the 23rd of December, 2025.
Okay, We have a motion to do that. I don't think there be any questions. Let's call for a vote. This is in favor. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Okay, we're here till, we have Board of Health at 10 and I would love input from this isn't, we're charged, we're sitting up here and one of our biggest responsibilities is the finances of this county, but it doesn't mean I don't like input. I love input. And if somebody, I've worked numbers for a lot of years, but it doesn't mean somebody doesn't see something that I can go, okay, we can make that work. So if anybody has any ideas or any comments on some of this stuff, I'd more than love to entertain them. I know you had some thoughts on this, or anything different than what I've covered?
I do. I was going to recommend, we had leaders come together earlier in the year and have a budget retreat. We generated about 5 pages of ideas, both
Yeah.
revenues as well as cuts. And my recommendation is to convene a special budget stabilization task force to really look at 2027 and forward.
Yeah,
Because until you build a budget, like you said, until you build a budget that says, this is our revenue, these are our expenses, and it equals. And if you have savings during the year and return of general fund, and this is just for general fund, if you have those returns, then those can be reinvested in things like deferred maintenance, one-time equipment purchases, things like that.
exactly.
That's the way I would put a budget together, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what I've been saying since
Yeah.
2023.
And, I don't disagree with that. I think that's a good step forward. What I can tell you is over 40 years of working in the financial industry, and they always say, well, we need to find more efficient ways of doing things. And I think you should always look at that. But in reality, what happens most of the time is when something happens, it drives where you'll find the efficiencies. If everything's going along and we don't ever ask for any changes, it's rare that somebody's they will, but it's not as common that they'll come up with efficiencies. So when you come in and you say, okay, this is what you have, and you realize you're going to get less, I know as department manager in places I've run, then I go out and I say, okay, we need to find
Make it work.
someplace where we do it better. So I would like it to work the other way, but it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you have to set the standard and then they will go out and we'll do the work to find it. But I think that's a good point to work there. Ron, did you have a comment?
Yes, please. Thank you. Just to supplement your comments that we're all in the same boat, the federal, state, counties. There's no life-saving boats out there. And from a state standpoint, our leaders are starting to look at their budget. Their budgets are not meeting their projections. They're trying to look at more taxes. And we've already seen, we're not having people coming in. The state has an exodus right now
Yeah.
based upon all of this. So we need to take a tough look and support that, et cetera, and us citizens supporting you, the commissioners, in doing that. Is that we don't have an income problem, we have spending problems. And people unable to match a budget. And that goes all the way down to people in their own families expecting supplements to do that. So I encourage you, support you and the commissioners taking a tough look, because we need to be prepared for the outlook right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I
so-
give you a big wad of gristle to chew on?
No. This is doable. I can go back and give you the actual numbers for these reductions that you're outlining. And so bring those back to, and I can actually get you that by next week,
Okay.
before next week.
Yeah, because I'd really like my colleagues to,
Right.
to see all that and have a chance to weigh in. Yes, sir.
This has only a little bit to do with the budget, but
Okay.
I read an article in both the Gazette and the Daily News having to do with the gun range. My name's Bruce Singleton. I'm the secretary at Cowlitz Game and Anglers. I helped build the range 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been an RSO at the range for the last 12 and a half years, donating approximately 25 hours a month. And what I have to say has something to do with your budget problem. It was reported, and in that Commissioner Rader stated that the range has declined by thousands over the last few years in terms of usage. I have here the facts. 2020, we had 4,097 shooters. 2021, we had 3,273. 2022, we had 4,693. 2023, we had 5,470. 2024, we had 6,172. That number inflated by about 600 due to a special Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife event in September, about 600 people. So it should have been around 5,500, 5,600.
Okay.
This year, we're estimating 5,632. That's based on actuals of 5,163 through 48 weeks. There has been no thousands reduction. In fact, we've been very stable, if not increasing.
Mr. Chair, if I can address that.
Sure.
That comment was made, Bruce, based on information that we received from the time that the range had originally opened to current dates today. So I made that comment because based on the number of people who were attending when the range had opened 10, 15 years ago to today, that's what that's what I was referring to, not the last 5 years.
Okay, well, the numbers, I have those. I don't have the detailed numbers of 2014 through 2018. We opened in May of 2013, but we averaged between 3,500 and 4,500 shooters per year during that entire period. So I don't know what numbers you're seeing. They're not factually correct. Further, I'd just like to comment on a few of the things I saw in the newspaper. Moss reported spending 50 grand on expenses annually. It was never addressed, the money that Cowlitz Game and Anglers sends to the county annually from the shooting fees we collect. It's about $35,000 to $40,000, okay? It was further indicated that we could have other events and do a wonderful job. Well, we just had a turkey shoot on a trap range on the 22nd of November. It required 8 volunteers to facilitate that activity. So, you know, this magic increased activity does not come at zero cost. The Game and Anglers currently, a typical week is between 100 and 120 hours of volunteer time. Okay, so I don't know what kind of magical thinking is going on, but as Commissioner Dahl mentioned, we have to pay attention to costs. And I can guarantee you that if you go out and have to run this range and pay salaries to run it, your costs are going to increase dramatically, and your number of shooters is going to fall off dramatically if you significantly increase shooting fees. Thank you very much.
Yeah. A couple general things I'll just address on that. every one of us sitting in here, believes the gun range is a real asset to our community and nobody sitting here wants to see it go away. We do subsidize it. It doesn't come without a cost, and I don't think we're opposed to that. We would like to see it as anything. We'd like to see it pay for itself. And I know, here's what I can tell you. There'll be further discussion on this on Wednesday. Mike was in my office yesterday and was discussing a couple options, and I think I could be wrong on this, but I think he has a meeting with your group today or something. Does that sound familiar?
He had indicated there would be a meeting with one member of Cowlitz Game and Anglers and one other person. Cowlitz Game and Anglers has officially responded to him saying, we want other people in that meeting to bring all of the information forward. We have, as of a few hours ago, we had not heard.
Okay,
Without, you mentioned rocket scientists. I was one.
yeah.
Okay, so I understand these things from a big picture. I'm not sure that you guys are getting the big picture from Park and Recs.
Okay. I don't have every detail here. What I can tell you is we want to work real hard to make sure that thing works out there. There's no intention by any commissioner here to shutter it or close it. We think it provides great benefit to the schools and the kids. I know kids do a lot of trap shooting and different things out there, and law enforcement from all over the county uses it. So we believe it's a good asset, and we'll continue working on that. Go ahead, Lindy.
Yes, I don't do a lot of shooting, but occasionally I do. And our neighbors do not like that, even in the rural areas. So it's a real benefit to those that do want to shoot and be polite, people in the neighborhood, to use a range that's available, that's safe. And it's a wonderful range. They do a nice job of organizing it and keeping it clean and making it very welcoming. And I would hate to see that go away. So if there's other funding other than the county, I don't know if there's other ways to manage besides just donations or fees.
Well,
But
sometimes there's been projects out there, we've gotten some help from RCO, or I think,
what's an RCO?
out of Olympia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it depends on what the type the project is. Sometimes we look for RCO funds or something for that to help do that. I know, I think the bathroom down by the trap range, that was an RCO project. Yeah.
Okay.
So we do look for other stuff too.
Okay. So thank you.
Mhm.
It may not be clear, but the gun range was built by Cowlitz Game and Anglers.
Yeah.
There was county money involved, but we raised the majority of the money. Range was built, all of the improvements by volunteers. Okay,
Yeah. I knew Dick Miller back in the day and know that was his passion, and I know the clubhouse is named after him. So I know that your group put a ton of work in that, and
and
I'm
now
not, yeah.
you are,
You're being thrown out?
we are,
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
we are.
Well, wait,
We propose to the county to continue to run it under the similar conditions as they're currently running it. They rejected that proposal. I wrote the proposal, I know what we
yeah.
said. And it is a travesty. The range will probably close if it's left to run under county Park and Recs that have to go out and pay to run it. You can't do it that way. The hours will be totally restricted. This has nothing to do with the law enforcement rate.
We need to have you added, Mike, because we have public meeting and people on the, yeah.
As I said, we built the range. We've run it for the last 12 and a half years. We've run it with volunteers. You cannot run that range and have it open for any reasonable number of hours without a lot of volunteer help, okay? And I don't think you're going to get that if you run it under the county Parks and Rec, okay? This has nothing to do with the law enforcement range. They took over the 100-yard range. They're operating that. There's no issues between the two operations, okay? You're also going to lose the possibility of losing some other aspects, such as hunter education. We utilize the facility for that, and that is under the guidance of Cowlitz Game and Anglers. We have about 12 volunteers. We put over 250 kids and adults through hunter ed this year, and we'll probably have the same number next year, assuming we're able to do it.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll have discussion on Wednesday. We're aware of a lot of this stuff and trying to work it out. Okay. Anything else? We have a few minutes before 10 if anybody has anything else. If not, we'll just recess till 10. Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so is this even a legal meeting? Do I just adjourn it? Okay, so nothing else on this. We will adjourn this one at 10 o'clock. Board of Health will be up here and we'll start that. Okay, so we will adjourn. Commissioner Rader, thanks for joining us.
Do you want to email me? How much they're telling them how to
We had. Well, yeah, we had COVID in 19. So.
I know, and it scares me. I have two. Next to us.
Thanks for the call.
And by the way, I love. Yeah.
You know what else like to do that?
Have this.
Fishing out.
That's rest, it's in the library.
No.
That's for a quick. It's a dinner course on you guys. So.
I had to be constant. So. Well, anyways,
I did. Thinking. Thank you.
You know, I should have done 38 years, also work. Nobody ever wants to do that.
Yeah. And he walks.
Rick.
Yeah.
Steve, we just made it. Another best system. Well. Yes, there's one.
What's the road for? Use that, but your class and
Yeah, I know, and that's why.
Yeah, we have things to come right.
but they can show us. Things are down, not just start saying.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, because I'll tell you, good reason to use that. She got up there, so it's all set down, but we have it now, so let's try to say. That was like.
I can't believe it.
Tracy, you've heard of one guy. One guy last year, did 24 counts. Whatever it's like, we ended up at 12 hours. Property tax. You figure out big ones.
Shut up.
26. Like always, waste of time.
Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Board of Health meeting at 10 o'clock on the dot. Thank you all for coming. I'd like to make a little statement here. This will be our last Board of Health meeting for this year. This time of year, especially around the holidays, could bring good tidings and joy, but for many people, it could bring on stress, depression, and the holiday blues. Winter here in the Pacific Northwest means less sunshine, and that can lead to a lack of vitamin D, which has been linked to depression. The ancient Greek god Dionysus was the god of wine and festivities, is known for a dual nature that brings both joy and madness. Humans have struggled with feeling blue since the beginning of time. Well before the time of Jesus, Roman cities established bars called popinas almost on every block to help people pass the times of feeling down or blue. Later on, Benjamin Franklin wrote, "Wine was proof that God loves us and loves to see us happy." But almost always, drinking, along with drugs, so easy to buy these days, may only temporarily make people happy. And in the end, alcohol is a depressant. A few things to help guard against the blues are physical exercise, sun exposure to get that vitamin D, a balanced diet, cutting down on screen time and social media, and getting at least 8 hours of sleep. So enjoy the holidays responsible. And if you are feeling down, reach out to a friend, talk to a family member, seek out God or read the Bible, and please consider getting professional help. There are many resources to help people who struggle and can be found in our Health and Human Services offices on 9th Street. I urge everyone to prioritize your self-care and know that if you are struggling, you're not alone and there is help available. Just wanted to say that. And then we'll go into first bit of business would be the old business to review the minutes. Did everybody get a copy of the minutes? I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. That passes. By the way, our other commissioners, 2 commissioners are out, not feeling well today. One, Commissioner Rader. Yeah, Commissioner Rader is online with us, actually. Okay. First bit of business here, new business, is we have Dr. Krager. Hi, Dr. Krager is with us, and Gina James. Like to talk about the avian bird flu. Washington is famous for the first case of contamination. Is that right? For a human case. And
Really?
unfortunately, I heard that he died. And Dr. Krager is going to talk about it. Thank you for coming and talking to us about it.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Kelly. That's correct. So yes, I'm Steve Krager. I'm the health officer for Cowlitz County. First of all, just want to appreciate your comments about, mental health during this season. I think, the holidays can be challenging for people, but it's also a time to connect and, again, reach out to people that care about you. So yeah, bird flu, also known as avian influenza. Let's see. Look at that, it works. Just to clarify, this recent case, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, was a specific strain that we hadn't seen in humans before, but we've seen bird flu of other strains before. But this one was slightly different than we've seen before in humans. So I'm going to call it bird flu. You'll hear it referred to as avian influenza or highly pathogenic avian influenza. The highly pathogenic always freaks people out a little bit because it sounds dangerous, right? But that term is specific to birds. It's highly pathogenic for birds, meaning it kills birds readily, but not necessarily humans or other mammals, although it can. So on the human side, I just like calling it bird flu. I feel like that's more straightforward. It's a virus. It's an influenza virus. It's similar to the influenza virus that we see seasonally among humans, but primarily affects birds, poultry, and wild birds. Especially we see, birds that are migrating. And we've more recently, last few years, it's been more readily infecting mammals. So that's led to outbreaks in dairy farms, as well as infecting other wild animals. And one of the counties I work for, Mason County, had a large outbreak in a cat sanctuary, which was quite sad because they lost a number of cats due to bird flu last year. So, or was that was early? Yeah, that was earlier this year. Spreads through contact with infected birds, probably most often through their droppings or some sort of contaminated surface that happens. It rarely infects humans, which is great. We can talk more about like what risk factors, but right now it is very rare and kind of happens sporadically. So in birds, you'll hear about kind of rapid die-offs. So it's pretty sudden death, lack of energy, decreased egg production. But the big thing we see, or the big tip-off, is kind of a 50% of a flock dying at in one day, or even shorter. Humans, we've seen a huge range of symptoms. Sometimes it's just been red eyes. And you can swab the eye, you can find the virus in the eye, but it doesn't seem to spread systemically. And then other people have had more severe disease, and that's what happened with this most recent case in Washington. So this is our general message to the public, is that the risk remains quite low. We don't have evidence of it spreading between people. So birds can infect humans, but humans can infect another human, at least at this point. That would be much more, dangerous, much more concerning if we were able to see spread between people, but that has not been documented. And I think the virus would have to change pretty significantly for that to happen. So the people most at risk, what we see most often is workers that are working with poultry or dairy workers. I've been involved in a couple of these outbreaks in a poultry facility, and that have an outbreak among the birds. Most of the birds die, but then there is often a culling operation where they have to kill the remainder of them, or at least clean up the dead birds. And sometimes we're talking 400,000, 1 million birds in these barns. And you can just imagine the amount of dust that is spreading. It's a lot of exposure happening. So we do recommend, significant amount of PPE and other controls to protect workers, but it can still be a risk. So for the general public, most people don't need to be concerned, but if you see a dead wild bird, you should contact an authority, like the park that it's in or the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and avoid contact. That's similar with kind of backyard flocks. We talk about this term called biosecurity, which is kind of keeping your flocks separate from other wild animals is kind of the big thing. So making sure your cages are secure, that you're cleaning properly when you come inside and out your house. We haven't seen this in the United States, but it's happened in other places where raw or undercooked poultry or unpasteurized dairy has led to infections in humans. Fairly rare, but can happen. And then obviously washing hands, especially after handling animals, is another way to just prevent infection. So we did have, this was really interesting. It kind of happened over a weekend where we had a Grace Harbor individual contract the virus, a bird flu type of virus. And they did have underlying health conditions. They were elderly, and they were exposed to a backyard flock of birds that were infected with the virus, likely from wild birds that they had had contact with. The strain, so influenza, if you ever read about it, both in humans and in bird flu, you'll see these 2 letters and 2 numbers. H5N5 was this case. Right now, what's circulating in humans is H3N2. What we've seen previously with bird flu is H5N1. It's basically a naming convention. It's kind of like what's on the outside of the virus. This H5N5 we've seen in other animals, we've seen in birds. Most recently, it was seen in Canada, but on the eastern side of Canada, so that was interesting. I don't think we knew that it was spreading in birds on this side of the country. So it was a little bit of a surprise to see that it had infected a human. Like I'd said, H5N1 is mostly what we've been seeing. Those were the only previous cases seen in humans in Washington. So we'll see what happens. You know, I know Grays Harbor as well as the Washington State Department of Health did a lot of work, you know, contact tracing, trying to see if any human-to-human spread happened, you know, where this person likely got this strain of the virus, which again was likely their backyard flock. And there was no evidence of human-to-human spread. But this person did get very sick and did die likely from the virus. So I think my main takeaway from bird flu in general, as well as this specific case, is really being cautious if you have exposure to poultry. Right now, basically the last couple months, we've seen a lot of bird flu activity as wild birds move south, basically for the winter. And they, it kind of happens seasonally. We had, during the spring and summer, we didn't see quite as much bird flu, and then we see during the fall it kind of begin to spread quite a bit again. So that's my main takeaway is just being cautious with humans or with birds that you have contact with. Again, I think the public health risk is quite low at this point, but it's something to keep an eye on, and we're watching closely. So thank you, Karen, for bringing this up and wanting to talk about it. That's all I have today.
Thank you. A member of the public brought up a great question about backyard flocks.
Yeah.
So people with chickens, et cetera. In trying to keep them from wild birds, which is the bigger thing you want to do, they were talking about putting a roof or a cover over their chicken coop, which to me would make great sense. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I think that's reasonable. I am, not a poultry specialist or biosecurity specialist, but there's great resources. I think some of our extension offices have great resources, Fish and Wildlife as well, where you could read kind of about biosecurity practices. But that makes sense just from like feces, right? Bird poop, trying to keep it out of things, because we know that's how it can spread as well. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
And along with that, I would think, you want to keep them out of shared water spaces,
Yes.
feeding spaces,
Yep.
et cetera. Then I'm sure that another question is going to come up. What does this mean for those of us that like to feed wild birds? And, what about a bird bath? What about our bird feeders?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten this question before, and I've struggled with it a little bit because anything in life you can never completely eliminate a risk, right? But I think a bird bath in general, if you're not drinking the water from it, you're gonna be generally okay, as long as if you are interacting with the bath, probably wash your hands afterwards, right? Similarly, if you're feeding birds, as long as you are keeping distance, not picking them up, not handling them, not handling their feces, I think the risk overall is pretty low. And again, hand washing is always important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And my understanding is the gentleman that did contract the virus, had some other health
Yes.
concerns. Now, I don't know if he was immunocompromised as well, but, and because I think that's the biggest thing is people say, whoa, if this person got it, why not me?
Yeah.
Right? And so certainly, yes, it can now jump species.
Mhm.
So we've seen that. However, it's only one case, not common at all. And I appreciated what you said about the ability to transmit from human to human, that has not been shown, which is, I think,
Exactly.
interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's true of influenza in general, right? We know people are higher risk or more, more likely to be severely ill from it. So right now that seems to be the case with bird flu as well as regular influenza. And yeah, if you want to do some fun reading, there's tons of work just being done trying to understand, what changes to the virus would have to happen in order for that to occur, right? In order for human to human transmission to happen. And again, we're not there yet, but it's that genetic analysis that is being done to try to keep track of that and make sure it doesn't happen. Yeah.
And the moral of the story, once again, is wash your hands.
Mhm. You mentioned that cats
Yeah.
contract it too. Does that go for dogs as well?
Yeah, dogs can, but they don't seem to get as ill. So I'm not aware of any dog deaths associated with bird flu, but there've been a number of cats, both house cats as well as these kind of wild or, I think in this cat sanctuary there are, mountain lions and bobcats that died. But there's also been house cats that were exposed to raw milk that had been infected, and they died from it as well. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it is, the physiology between that, but cats seem to be more at risk.
Any further questions or? Okay, another virus to watch out for.
Yep. Thank you.
I agree with what you said. Wash your hands. Keep clean. Thank you very much, Dr. Krager, for
Thank
that.
you.
Would you like to say something about that? Is it related to the avian flu?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
That's why I'm here.
Well,
So Jennifer Leach with WSU Extension here in Cowlitz County, and again, appreciate the presentation Dr. Krager provided. And he did talk about, resources with Extension. Just to let you guys know, is first of all, I have a degree in animal science, but I'm not a poultry specialist, okay? So, but I think the key thing is just let you know that we are in 4-H are taking this seriously. Our new state 4-H program leader is sending information out to us as county faculty in the last 2 days. Is going to send some additional information out to our online 4-H enrollment system to our leaders that are enrolled in the poultry project. So basically, what we're saying within the realm of 4-H and extension is really refer to the Department of Ag's website because they have lots of materials about educational resources related to the bird flu. And I think the big thing with bird flu is that, and Dr. Krager really hit the nail on the head, is that, is avoid contact with sick or dead wild birds, and I would say even poultry. And this is near and dear to our home economists in extension. Avoid raw and undercooked poultry or unpasteurized dairy milk, okay? So, I've worked for Extension long enough with my colleagues to know that when there's guidelines on how to prepare and cook poultry, and there's also guidelines that there's a reason that milk needs to be pasteurized. Wash hands thoroughly, and so it's just basic biosecurity, and with whether it's humans or animals. And then, again, practice biosecurity with backyard flocks. And then, your question about, backyard flock owners with their chicken coops covering it, I think those are good suggestions. The other thing is that as a 4-H agent, I'm blessed in Cowlitz County to have a very, very knowledgeable 4-H poultry superintendent who still is a leader here, so I kind of rely on her to say, because she's in tune. So, okay, Pam, is this all up to speed. So anyway, we're trying to get resources out as much as possible within extension. And I think the main thing is encourage people to go to the Washington Department of Ag website, because that's where the updated information is. And it builds upon what Dr. Krager has said.
Jennifer, have you seen with the 4-H and the county fairs and all the exhibitions of the birds, have you seen anything like that?
So thank you for that reminder. This is not the first go round with avian influenza. It happened, time flies, okay, in my world. Kind of a pun on words. So I want to say, so we didn't have a fair in 2020. We shut down all fairs because of COVID. The following year, we did not allow 4-H poultry at most fairs because of avian flu. So we've shut it down before we did that. We made a statewide decision. Well, actually, the fairs made a statewide decision because they get guidance from the Department of Ag too with their state vets. So in most fairs with 4-H poultry, is we still provide an opportunity for kids to do something, but they brought their stuffed animals and we did some hands-on activities. And it was also the same year that there was a rabbit virus going around too. So in both situations is we provide an opportunity for 4-H members to do something, but we had to do it in a different way and not have live animals. And then currently, right now in the horse industry, there's another virus going around, equine herpes virus 1, EHV1. So statewide in 4-H, we're recommending that you just don't go to horse events right now because it's highly contagious too. So it's kind of, there's viruses everywhere. So it really goes back to practicing biosecurity. And, when you bring your animals home from the fair or any event, don't put them with other animals. Quarantine them. It's the basic biosecurity virus 101. So we try to emphasize that a lot in 4-H. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner Rader, if you can hear us. If you may have your mute on.
Yeah, she answered the question. I was just wondering if there was any guidelines with regards to the horse flu that was going around, if that's been known to be transferred to humans.
Does not get transferred to humans.
Yeah, Dr. Krieger's shaking his head no. So.
I do know that.
Okay. Thank you very much on that report. Yeah, don't drink the bird bath water.
That's my takeaway.
That's a good one. Yeah. Darn. Okay. The next topic on the agenda is Commissioner Rader. Are you still there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry. I hope I didn't catch you taking off. We wanted to talk about the health alliances and the 5-county health alliance that came up in the last Board of Health meeting, and I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, it's a it's a consortium of 5 counties that was made up years ago. I believe I want to say it was 1998 is when it was started, and it was done throughout the state. And it was really just giving counties who don't have certain service providers within their area the opportunity to have those services provided within their counties through this consortium. Ours is called the Great Rivers Behavioral Health Organization, and it's made up of 5 counties: Wahkiakum, Grays Harbor, Pacific, and Lewis, in our county. And they work with the service providers for mental health and other behavioral health issues within our county. And they have also, what we were discussing at the time that brought the question up was they've also brought up or started an organization called CIHS, and that is Community Integrated Health Services. And its original formation was to help provide services in areas where we have gaps within our service providers in the counties. So, you know, if somebody has a specific need for like an emergency mental health situation, CIHS is supposed to be there to help provide those gap services that we don't necessarily have within the service providers of our county. And so they work together with the service providers to provide those services throughout the 5 county jurisdiction. And it's an institution that the counties own. So the 5 counties are owners of those organizations, and they are really a pass through and a funding opportunity for a lot of service providers to be able to have the funding necessary to provide those services throughout our counties.
And last time we spoke about this, you mentioned that you see some duplication of efforts maybe that could be costing extra money.
Yeah, we as a board are working on bringing back the original intent of what CIHS was. It has really grown as one of Chairman Dahl's favorite sayings of the government's bloated. You hear him say that a lot. This is one of those situations, and we're working on bringing the services and the intent of its original inception to bring back just the Medigap services. We, you know, right now CIHS offers and has its tentacles in a lot of different things, and as a board, we're working on leaning and trimming that down to where it's just going to get back to providing the services that was originally intended to do.
Yeah,
It's been something that I've been working on spearheading for quite some time now, and I think we're finally getting some results.
does anybody else have any comments on that? It was new, the concept, I had not heard of it until it was brought up at the last meeting.
But the only comment I would make is that, you know, I appreciate Commissioner Rader taking this on. He stepped into being a liaison on that, and I know that the issues he's talking about precede his date, and he's really, you know, taken it by the reins, gotten it up to speed, and looking at making some good adjustments in that. So as BOCC, we appreciate his taking the lead on that.
Yeah, when I spoke to Commissioner Rader, it just kind of occurred to me if they're setting up more government agencies or just more government help to fix the gaps in the services, that seems like not an efficient idea. It would be better to go back and figure out what are the gaps and let's fix them there at the original plan. But sometimes that's what government does. They set up a program, it has a few flaws, and instead of going back to fix the flaws, they said, well, let's set up another program to administer to those flaws. Anybody else have any comments or thoughts on that? Okay, well, I wanted to thank you very much, Commissioner Rader, for what you're doing on that and for bringing it to all of our attention. And at this point, I'd just open it up to public comment. If anybody has some public comments, our meetings are going pretty quickly now, which is nice. Anybody online or anything? Well, with that, then I'll just say that the next Board of Health meeting is going to be late January, the 27th of next year, 2026. Christmas, right? Thanksgiving gone. Christmas right around the corner. So this board won't convene until January. But I wish everybody a healthy and happy Christmas and do well, and all of us have better luck and good luck for the next coming year. I know that sounds a little early saying it right now, but time goes quick. As Jennifer said, it flies. Time really flies. So thank you all for coming. We'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 10:29.